Oh, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Dinger Dudes. Now, I know it has been a minute since we've been on here to talk baseball with you guys, but as you all know from our last episode, we kind of gave y'all a quick recap what's been going on. With school back in session, we got classes, we got work at the station. Of course, if you don't know, we're part of a station show called Sports Out of Pocket. We've had that going on. We've had a cover with some West Georgia football over the weekends. It's been a lot. But unless you've been sleeping under a rock, you also know that this Tuesday starts the MLB postseason for the 2024 season. And this race in the National League, especially the wild card between the Diamondbacks, Braves, and Mets, could not be any closer. I'm not going to jump into that yet. Of course, that's what this episode's going to be centered around, the MLB postseason and this race. So we'll get in that more in the show. But if I sound a little funny, my voice is cooked, Steven's voice is cooked, and your voice is cooked because
I'm pretty good.
We have been tormented by our teams this weekend. Steven, a Georgia Bulldogs fan, me and Andrew Ford State fan. And then the Atlanta Falcons like to kick us in the balls and make our stomach hurt. So we appreciate them for that. And then, of course,
Thank
the
you,
Braves.
Q.
Yeah, thank you, Young Wei Q. You are the absolute goat. And then, of course, the Atlanta Braves, we lost today. However, we are now tied with the Diamondbacks and the Mets heading into a crucial doubleheader tomorrow. Again, we'll get into that later. But, fellas, how are we feeling?
I'll just go in and open y'all gonna get a preview of what I'm about to sound like the entire episode. There's gonna be voice cracks. It's gonna sound like I'm a prepubescent child, but that's okay because that's exactly what Georgia doesn't like. Child, to get it, get it, Steven? Child's Georgia child. Anyways, this isn't a college football podcast, but
17-year-old making up whatever, man. Shut up.
but
Remind
yeah,
me.
so my weekend aside from my football teams, giving me heart attacks, it's been pretty good. Chase and I, we got the privilege to go down to Atlanta for that first game of the doubleheader. You got to get that first game. You got to lock in the what?
Both. We'll get tickets to both.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just one. That's a surprise to me. But yeah, look, either way, tomorrow's going to be hectic. Truist Park, it's got to be rocking for these Bravos, man.
Are
It
y'all?
all
Wait a
comes
minute.
down
Are
to
y'all actually going to the games tomorrow?
yeah, we are.
Yeah,
I thought it was just the first game, but apparently we got tickets to both. Who knows?
hey, Jason Barker has tickets available if anyone wants to hit him up.
I
He does.
would if I didn't have class. It's
Screw
freaking.
class, Steven.
I
Screw
wish I
class.
wish I could say screw class, but it's in it's mandatory. But yeah, tomorrow we have to win at least one of the games. Preferably game one, because if
Yes,
we're able to win game one, then Chris Sale doesn't have to pitch.
Right.
and
And
we get to
that would
reserve him.
be amazing because then Chris Sale could just pitch in game one of either the Milwaukee or the Padres series, depending on where the Braves are seated.
Yeah.
But I do have just a real quick thing. I have a jar of prophecies for the games that are going on tomorrow. So let me just reach into the prophecy jar real quick. All
Wow.
right, I
Oh
Okay.
have a little
Lord.
prophecy here. All right, it just says we're screwed.
Yo, we can't
Hey,
be screwed,
Bro,
Steven.
give me
you
something
can
different
never
than
go
that,
against
Hey,
Steven.
Daddy
and
Steven's word.
Schwollenbach. And Spencer Schwollenbach, we trust.
Dude, yes. And gosh, does anyone remember who's pitching that game one? They got Quintana on the mound in game two. Who's pitching game one? Somebody help me out here. I just looked at it. I
It's
literally just
Tyler
looked at it.
Beagle
Oh yeah, that's
versus
right. That's right.
Cronenbach.
Yes, Spencer Schwalbe. Listen, his last
I'm
few
not worried
starts.
about the pitching; it's the offense.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, right now, this offense just the last couple of games has just looked uh just not out of sorts is a way to put it. Right now, the only person that's really being consistent right now is Harris.
yeah.
And Lindor's back. I mean, the Mets offense is just on pace with everything. I do listen. Here's the thing about either game. There's literally should be no reason we should get swept in this because
Oh
even in the
no,
second game, the Mets clinch if they win the first one. So there's no reason to play Lindor, Pete Alonso, or anybody else in the
starters
second
will be
game.
rested. And yeah,
Just
and
Right.
rest the guys and
but you
we
said it,
just
Stephen.
pull one game. That's all I'm asking. Just like I said, win a game.
And
Or
this
we
in
could just
my
win that first one and then we don't even have to worry about that second one.
Exactly. But tomorrow is exactly when our offense needs to open up because that whole Kansas City series, we had to rely on the starters. Max Fried was this close to pitching the second Maddox of the season. And then Charlie Morton struggled in the early innings today until our bullpen found the rhythm. But we had to walk it off last night in game two with Travis d'Arnaud in the ninth. It's coming down to the final innings, and I'd like to see the Braves open up the offensive explosion early. Matt Olson in the post-game interview after today, he seemed electric. He seemed fired up. He wants this win bad, and the rest of Braves country wants the bat to wake the bats up early. So, like you said, Steven, we can rest our starters in that second game and not even have to worry about it after 3:30. And that's the ideal. But Jackson, well, what's the Cardinals wild card situation looking like? How is St. Louis going to sneak into the playoffs this year?
Thank you for giving me time in this stage to bring upon my Cardinals thoughts.
Yes, let's all hear it.
Three, just to let you know, just like in Out of Pocket. 3, 2, 1. We suck. I don't care. We suck.
Throw in the towel.
What the thing was, our pitching, like our bats, like even Wilson Contreras said
Hold
that
on.
we
I
have
gotta. It's like Pittsburgh, except it's the St. Louis terrible towel.
hold on.
Let's wait the terrible towels,
Bro, I
boys.
actually have stuff to
I
say.
want one. I want one.
John Mozeliak needs to be out of there. Oliver Marmol, I have no idea why we fired Mike Schilt, who now happens to be the manager of the San Diego Padres.
And
I
how
have
are
no
they doing?
We fired him after a wild card playoff berth, and it wasn't even his fault. It was the last time that we were in the playoffs and was like 2022, 2021, I believe. And what happened there was Alex Reyes, just to let you know, just a reminder, this guy, the last time he played in the MLB was that playoff game where he gave up a walk-off homer to Chris Taylor and the Los Angeles Dodgers. We had a guy like Michael McGreevy, who's like 23, 24 years old, who did fantastic in his MLB debut. 5 innings pitched, 0 hits, gave up 1 earned run and 8 strikeouts, and got sent down to the minors. Was never injured or anything, just to let you know that. He was never injured or anything, but he wasn't called up till 3 months later. And this thing with Jordan Walker. Jordan Walker, you sign him to like 40-something million-dollar contract for a couple years, and just to play in the minors. Like we didn't even have a set lineup every single day. It was just basically our minor league lineup. Our minor league lineup was pretty much playing which that still gives no excuse for the terrible pitching relief blunders. There's a lot. And Goldschmidt's not returning, which thank you, Paul Goldschmidt, for everything you did for St. Louis the past couple years. You brought in MVP, a couple playoff berths. That 2019 playoff series was great, minus the national sweep. But
so Nationals went on a tear.
Yeah, thanks Goldie for all your Cardinals help, and I don't really know who's going to be our first baseman heading into next season, but there's a lot to be done in the St. Louis organization.
Well, if there's one thing that we can all agree on, it's that the Cardinals' playoffs hopes are a fantasy. And speaking of fantasy, we got to talk about our fantasy baseball teams and how we performed. And let's just start off with the best of the lot here. Andrew, you were in the championship if I'm not correct.
No, that was Chase.
I wasn't,
Chase, you were in the.
Oh,
you
lost. Thanks for the shout out,
out.
Steven. Thanks for the shout out, though. I appreciate it.
You almost did. You were short by a couple. Was it Brendan? Brendan beat you by a little bit.
Yeah, it came down to that final day on Sunday. I was coming into the day with just a 5-point lead. I had 2 pitchers pitching, but neither pitcher gave me more than 10 points. And Brendan had, I want to say it was Paul Skeens on the mound that day, who I think gave him 27, and that just kind of solidified everything. So, Chase, you took on Brendan Willoughby Ray after making a remarkable comeback against the best team in the regular season all throughout the year. Before you talk about the championship game, take us through your improbable comeback against the 3-loss Jason Barker team.
No, he had 5 losses.
No, Jason had 3 losses.
He went 16-5.
He had 3 losses, my dude. Check it again. He had 3 losses.
I was one of the losses.
Jason's 19.
That proves to you I didn't pay attention the last couple.
Yeah, we know, and your team shows as well. Go,
Um,
Jason. Walk us through that.
so about a couple months ago, I had less than a 30% chance to even make the playoffs. I have ended this season. Well, first of all, I ended the regular season winning 11 out of my last 12 games, including ending it on a 5 game winning streak heading into that matchup with Jason. Well, of course, I was the 4th seed in the playoffs, meaning I had to play the number 1 seed, and that was Jason Barker, the JB's Backyard Ballers, who were no doubt the best team in the league. So I knew it was a tall task to get through Brendan to even have a shot at the championship. And Jason's team played as dominant as expected.
Yeah.
Jason from top to bottom, he is just absolutely loaded. Fernando Tatis, of course, returned right before the playoffs. He has Mookie Betts, of course. Don't forget his nasty, nasty pitching rotation. And Corbin Burns, Cole Reagans, Brian Rue, and then, of course, Bailey Ober for the Minnesota Twins. In fantasy baseball, you have one or two options when it comes to pitchers. You can either not draft them high, don't draft any pitchers high and just keep grabbing off the waivers throughout the season like I did, or you can go the Jason Barker route where you just draft pitchers early and you build yourself a nasty lineup and you just rock with that lineup the entire season. And that's what Jason did. And why wouldn't he with the nasty starting rotation that he had? Jason gave me problems, and throughout our whole matchup, it was not looking good. So in the playoffs, it spans 2 weeks. It's a 2 weeks matchup. It was Wednesday of that second week, and I was down by more than 100 points. That means I had 5 days to make up more than 100 points. I thought I was cooked, but I still had 8 spots open for potential waiver moves. So I decided I was going to use those 8 spots to get the best pitchers I see available and just pray that they can have a good outing for me that will let me into the playoffs. Well, here comes Sunday, and I am down against, I think heading into that last day of our matchup, I was down by 17. And because of my offense, I was able to bring it down to only a 13-point lead. And I was looking at the waivers. I was like, well, who's going to be available for me to use that pitcher? The only one available
Charlie.
was Charlie freaking Morton.
Yeah.
So
How do you do?
Jason team is done. I'm down by 12, and the only chance I had was Charlie Morton. So I grabbed him out the waivers, and I was praying he would do enough to at least get me 12. Well, needless to say, that was probably Charlie Morton's best performance of the year.
Sure.
Going 6 innings, 6 strikeouts, only 1 earned run, and gave me 18 points to help me get a 6-point win over Jason
Was that the
to
game
complete.
was that the game against the Phillies?
That was the Sunday night game against the Dodgers.
The Dodgers. Okay, the Dodgers. I got
Yes.
you. I got you.
And I say all this to say that I end up facing the Brendan Willoughby Ray in the playoffs. And he absolutely blew me out of the water. I'm currently down 608 to 450. Our teams are officially done. So, Brendan, if you're watching, I want to say congratulations. You earned this championship, but it took a miracle for me to even get in the situation I was at. So, I am more than happy finishing the season as runner-up.
Brendan is on a historic run right now. Wins fantasy football, wins March Madness, wins fantasy baseball. We can't let him win fantasy football again. Just to let y'all know, Brendan happens to be the fantasy winner. I happen to be the fantasy loser. So stay tuned for some content. Eating the turbocharged wings Jefferson's near our college, which you don't want to miss. But I did want to get into this playoff.
Hey, Jackson, just
right
real
now.
quick before you get into that segment, I was thinking, I was like, well, that's okay. You didn't do too well in this league, but we have our other league that we have, and I was going to go check but your last place in there too.
I know I haven't paid attention. I'm not gonna lie.
You
I'm not
might
gonna
be the
lie.
worst fantasy baseball manager I've ever
I
seen.
didn't I didn't pay attention in that one either. The only reason I didn't pay attention, I really wish I paid attention that week one playoff or consolation bracket because I thought the loser of Wyatt and Schrader had to eat the wings. But apparently, whoever the loser this week, which I lost to Wyatt, had to eat the wings, which I didn't know that. Everybody else thought it was the
Wyatt
Wyatt
Schroeder
Trader.
matchup.
Wyatt and Trader. But I want to get into this playoff clinching scenarios matchup. As again, the Braves did lose to the Royals today. That means y'all have to go into this doubleheader. Just to let you know, Arizona's season is done. Their record is 89 and 73. So the way it stands right now, if Mets and Braves split, the Mets and Braves are in the playoffs. If Mets are ahead of the Braves, correct?
No,
No,
no, no, no.
Ty.
It's tied.
No.
So if the Mets sweep, then the Mets get in. If the Braves sweep, the Braves and the Diamondbacks would get in. If the Mets sweep, then the Mets and the Diamondbacks will get in. The Braves
Yeah.
are out. So
Yeah.
So how are
basically,
you? I was gonna say, how are
like
y'all
what's
like?
so funny is like there's been a lot of comments going off like saying what if there's just like kind of like a club agreement, like I know we're
Yeah.
division
Oh
rivals, it's
yeah,
just
I've been
like
Yeah.
seeing that
you
too.
just win one game and then we'll rest all of our guys and you can win the other one and we'll both
Why
be in the
not?
playoffs and
But they're
it's
not
all
gonna do
good.
that. They're
But
not
they're
gonna
not
do
going
that.
to do that because they're division
Obviously.
rivals and we want to knock each other out of the playoffs. um, I don't know how things are going to go. Here's the thing: the one thing that we can agree on is whoever wins the first game, whether it's the Braves or the Mets, if the Mets win in game one, it wouldn't be shocking to see game two, Pete Alonso sitting, Lindor sitting.
Yeah,
They're
absolutely.
resting all of
Yeah,
their guys and bringing in like a
because
triple
they've
A
already
lineup.
clinched.
Um,
So I mean, I
uh,
like y'all's chances game one more than game two. I
Oh,
mean, I know
well,
y'all
Chris
have
Sale game
like,
two though.
yeah, we have
huh?
Chris. We have the best pitcher in
oh,
baseball in
game
game two,
two,
though.
that's the thing.
Yeah,
Game
I
two
know,
is going to
but
be like
I'm saying
very.
I'm saying I like y'all's chances game one more than game two because have you seen? I know Chris Sale is right now the leading candidate for NL Cy Young,
He's
but
pretty
have
much
y'all
got it
been
wrapped
seeing?
up.
Yeah,
Don't
I
don't
wouldn't say
hesitate. He's got it.
100% wrapped up because Zach Wheeler is still there.
It's not close to Chris
He
I've
won.
been
Sale.
seeing,
Chris Sale has the triple crown in all pitching categories. Chris
It's
Sale's the
not
Cy Young.
close. It's not
yeah.
Sorry, Zach
close.
Wheeler's had an incredible year. Don't get me wrong, but it's Chris Sale.
But again, I'm looking at this. Severino. Severino's been pitching fantastic his last five starts. He's 5-0 in his last starts. In his last five starts. So I'm Tyler Meagle. I'm not really too familiar with him. I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with him, but Severino's
Yeah,
5-0 in his last five starts, dude.
he's good.
He's he's good.
And I want to talk about another advantage I think the Braves have, and it's the fact that the Mets, they had to fly from Milwaukee to Atlanta this Sunday night, probably in the air right now. Hope nothing shoots that plane down. Wink, wink. Anyways, but yeah, they're flying down now for this double header,
Okay.
I just wanted to go and mention right now, screw you, Helene, because this is the sole reason why we're stuck in this double header right now. We were supposed to have this maker game on Thursday that pushed everything back to Monday because of the hurricane. Prayers up to anybody who's been affected. But yeah, the how this wild card race is going to finish up is it is simple. One win by the Mets and one win by the Braves, and they are in the playoffs. But the Diamondbacks, very odd situation, is seeing how game one plays out, going all in on the winner so they can also claim game two. So yeah, so the Diamondbacks are in desperate need of either the Mets or the Braves to sweep the doubleheader. And using Monday to play makeup games, this is a tragic part of it all. Is using Monday means there's no day off before the wild card series begins. And so, which is why we were praying that the Braves were able to make a late inning push in today's game. And so the early game winner will barely have 24 hours to jet off to Milwaukee or San Diego and begin the actual playoffs. So should the Braves lose game one, it will be interesting to see if they deploy, the Cy Young favorite Chris Sale in game two, because Atlanta has been holding it
Well, they
back,
will.
both,
That's
both to
that's
get an extra.
guaranteed.
Yeah, because they've been holding it back to get an extra rest and also to hopefully start in that playoff opener if we win game one. So how much will the uh sanctity of this game matter to the winner
Yeah,
of
that's what
Michael's
I was
first
asking.
game? Because it means a lot to me. And Arizona's manager, Torey Lovullo, left. He's only left to just watch and pray how, like I said, either the Braves or Mets respond in that game one. Because that means whoever wins that game, the Diamondbacks will have to go all in on that winner. And so it's very interesting here. I mean, honestly, like you said, Jackson. Schwellenbach, he's pitched amazing. He's been a rookie phenom this year. He's really just turned the tables for this Atlanta pitching rotation. And it was good to see Renato Lopez get a game one start against the Royals just to get a warm arm in, which he looked great. He was connecting with a
Yeah,
slider.
game two.
Well, yeah, game two. Excuse me. You're right. Max Fried was game one, but he looked fantastic. So if the Braves make the playoffs, it's comforting to know that we've got a warm-handed Lopez coming back. But yeah, it's Chase. I want to
That's
hear your thoughts. You haven't really spoke yet. So what do you think coming into this game?
Well, as a Braves fan, there's a lot we have to be thankful for. And the first thing I want to say is heading into that um
Royals
first
series.
game of the first game of that Mets series, the
Uh,
one that didn't get canceled, the Tuesday game. It was huge. First and foremost, taking that game, Michael Harris having his best game of the season. Absolutely,
Absolutely.
one triple away from the cycle, of course, around Cunha's brother, that incredible catch. It was a great game to watch. But that game gave us the tiebreaker over the Mets because heading into that game, we were deadlocked, I think, 6 wins or 5 wins apiece. I think it was 6 wins apiece. So that game gave us a tiebreaker over the Mets, which
7-6.
means there's a little more pressure on New York to win the first game of this doubleheader than there is for us. Either way, this is a massive doubleheader. But another thing we have to be thankful for is, of course, this past weekend, the Diamondbacks were hosting the Padres, and the
Yep.
Brewers and the Mets were on the road against Milwaukee. And it was kind of a weird thing to think about because this weekend we were also huge Padre and Brewers fans because we
Huge.
needed them to help us out. But it was kind of weird because Milwaukee has already clinched their division. And
mm.
before this Padres and Diamondbacks series, the Dodgers clinched their division. So the Brewers necessarily did not have anything to play for because they've already clinched the division. However, San Diego did have something to play for. They had to solidify that top spot of the wild card.
What they
So
did.
so
Which
I
they
was a
did.
little worried of how they were going to fare in their matchups and how much they were going to help. But oh my lord, did they help?
Shout out to
Milwaukee,
Reese Hoskins. Shout out to Reese Hoskins in that game one
Milwaukee
grand slam.
you had a grand slam in that first game of the series, and Milwaukee absolutely demolished the Mets in the first two
Yep.
games of the series.
Mm.
The Padres absolutely demolished the Diamondbacks in the first two games of their series. And though the Diamondbacks and the Brewers lost today, because they lost the first two games of their series, and the Braves won the first two games of the series against the Royals. That's the sole reason that we are in a three-way tie right now. Without those results happening, this situation tomorrow could be vastly more dire for the Atlanta
I
Braves. So that is
just
something we have to be thankful for as Atlanta fans.
I just wanted to say I wanted to get into the AL side before we get into the
Yes.
AL side before we end off this episode. Um, I hate the only way if the Braves do make the playoffs. Problem is next day you have to fly to San Diego.
Or
You have to
Yep,
play.
Milwaukee.
that's the
You have to play
thing.
San
Or
Diego,
Milwaukee.
and
Or
Or
San
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee. It
Diego.
depends on where we're seated. If we're in the number two seed, then we're gonna have to play San
Milwaukee.
Diego.
Play in San
It's a
Diego. Excuse
3 game
me.
series, and the issue is
It
this is
says
why
you
that
play with
first game
San
is so
Diego
important.
regardless.
This is why that first game is so no. It's we don't play San Diego regardless. I
Yeah.
don't think we would
If we
because if
finish
we
the third seed,
I was saying
where do
that's
you
what it
see
says
that?
here on ESPN.
But that wouldn't make any sense because things would be
wait a minute,
different.
because we'd have the tiebreaker over the Mets.
Yeah,
Oh, because it's 7-6, like Chase just said. Yeah, you're
yeah.
right, Steven. You're
So
right.
you,
All right, so yeah, we would play we play San Diego no matter what. Which
it's scary.
here's the problem with this scenario, right? If the Braves do not win game one of this doubleheader, uh, we're going to have to throw Chris Sale in game two.
Which
And
sucks.
if we go into San Diego in game one, who's your starter? Is it Max Fried's on a short rest? That's
Or
basically
Renato
our only
Lopez
option when it
too.
comes to game
Renato
one.
Lopez too. He's also on a short rest. I feel like you'd have to go Max Fried though, especially
You'd
after his
have to go
performance
Max
on
Fried, and
Friday.
you'd have to go probably Lopez on game two. That's
Yep.
just your only options that you have right now because um like Chris Sale is just not going to be able to be ready on like, a 2 days rest or whatever else. So these 3 games in San Diego, we're going to be shorthanded if we don't win game one. So game one is the make all or break all in my season, at
Yeah.
least where it comes to mine. At least in my opinion, if we do not win game one, you might as well write us off. And that's just me literally thinking of how this future is going to go because we need Chris Sale in game one.
We
It's
need
just
it. You're
it's
right.
just the necessity. If we have Chris Sale in game one, that sets us up beautifully to have either Max Fried or Reynaldo Lopez to come in on the back end of a game two and a game three.
Mm.
I
Unless
feel
you
like
put
it
Charlie
matches
Morton.
up better. Our offense, we just need a few runs when it comes to that pitching rotation.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, if we don't win game one, then we're kind of cooked. The
And
Braves are cooked.
But I
and
did
yeah,
before
Justin.
you finish, Andrew, and I want to go on the AL side because we have 6 minutes left.
Well, I was gonna go on that side too, so you can go and lead us in.
I was going to bring up, so I know we talked about our bubble teams throughout this season, and not one of us mentioned the Detroit Tigers.
And
And I know we covered
yeah,
this on Out of Pocket. They haven't made the playoffs since 2014 when Miguel Cabrera was on the team.
yep.
And so everybody clap it up for the Detroit Tigers, man. They've been
It took a
insane.
miracle.
It took a miracle.
Yeah.
It literally they were where they were like 10 games back
They
at
were
Yeah,
least like
50,
starting
they were 10 games back.
they were
in at the
55
start
and
of the month, and they had the best month a team could possibly have in September.
yeah.
And what have I said when it comes to baseball? It does not matter how you played from May to July. In August and September, if you can figure it out, if you can be that hot team going into the playoffs, then you can ride that hot streak all the way to a World Series if you're good enough. And right now, Screwball's lights out.
The
Screwball
AL
is absolutely pitching like he
the
is
AL Cy Young
that
straight
he
I was
wants
forward.
that AL Cy Young, even though he's not going to get it.
He's going to get it.
He's gonna get it. I think he's gonna get
He
it.
has the Triple Crown.
He does. He
Okay,
does
then
have the
yeah,
triple
like
crown.
he's playing crazy. It's the Detroit Tigers are just playing crazy as a thing. Like you know, the 1 through 9, they've really come together. What the Detroit Tigers remind me of is like a 2021 Braves, or it just
Sure.
reminds me of
Oh,
like a 2019 Nationals, where
Nationals.
yeah, that's a
you're
better
getting hot at the
comparison.
right time. You were crap for the almost the entire year, but you put things together, and now like it doesn't matter. Like basically, their mentality is like it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're the Yankees. It doesn't matter if you're the Orioles. They feel like they could beat anybody right now, and honestly, the way that they're playing, they can.
And that's what happens. And like you said, Steven, they were 55 and 63 on August 10th. That's 10 games out of the last wild card spot with not a lot of time left. And then they went on a surge. 31 and 11 in their last 41 games. And during that stretch, the Tigers had the lowest ERA in baseball and the largest run differential. And with 2 games left, the Tigers were in position for that second AL wild card, 1 game ahead of the AL Central rival Kansas City Royals, which also clinched a playoff spot Friday because Minnesota lost, which eliminated them. And AL Cy Young favorite Tariq Skubal, he leads Detroit's rotation, and then Jason Foley has become a very reliable closer in what has been a
He's
strong
fantastic,
bullpen.
dude.
And he earned his 28. He earned his 28th save in that series opener in Chicago. And I want to, tip my cap to Riley Green. He's the all-star outfielder, is the team's top player in the lineup that gets timely hitting from top to bottom. And the Torkelson, the #1 overall pick in 2020, was sent to the minors during the season and bounced back well enough to contribute to that team's late run. So yeah, tip your cap off to the Detroit Tigers team. They define the odds. They're riding the hot seat right now. Do not be surprised if the Tigers make it a historic run right now.
And not just, I was going to say for the Tigers, not just Riley Green. Kerry Carpenter, who has the third highest OPS among qualified hitters, 18 homers, 57 RBIs, and a 284 average. Do I think that they have the potential? They do have the potential to beat the Astros. Will they beat the Astros? No, I don't think.
Well,
they
don't say that so confidently.
Do y'all remember a couple episodes ago, or the episode that we did right before the trade deadline, where we were labeling the Tigers as sellers because
We have
3 minutes.
So yeah, I was saying we were labeling the Tigers as sellers because we didn't think they had a true shot. Remember, they were dishing players like Jack Flaherty to the Dodgers, and we
Yeah.
were thinking they were going to go a complete different direction without the playoffs in sight. But they have not only just shocked our minds, they have shocked the world. And they deserve a shot at a postseason run because they have been one of the better teams of baseball these last 2 months.
100%.
So I'm looking at this series, Tigers or Astros. We're gonna give a little pre-playoff preview predictions. Tigers,
All right,
Astros.
Steven,
Astros.
lead us off, Steven.
All right. Now, you know how I said the Tigers, the way that they're playing, they can beat anybody?
Yeah.
They ain't beating the Astros. The Astros, I have them going back into the ALCS for what is it, like the eighth straight year?
Yeah.
That's just who they are. That's what they're built. That's how this franchise is built. So, in fact, I have a rematch of the Astros and Yankees from 2017. Just to go into this, I know we're kind of like breaking things down, but my World Series prediction, it's gonna suck. I think it's the Dodgers and the Yankees.
You hate to say it, but how can you not?
It physically hurts me to say that.
And
I
you
was
could,
gonna
you know
say
what?
Dodgers and Astros, but
You could see Otani pitch in Game 1 of the World Series. There's been serious talks of that
I can
being a
see Freddie playing the
possibility.
World Series again, which is kind of
hey, do you
cool.
want to know what I said
Yeah.
on Out of Pocket? Y'all asked me if it was a hot take if the Dodgers make the World Series or win the World Series in the next
It was
5 years.
never a hot take. It was never a
Win.
hot
And
take.
Because we said
y'all called me
win.
Win,
They're not.
dumb.
If the Dodgers and the
win,
Yankees
Y'all
play in the
called
win.
me
World Series, the
dumb.
Yankees win.
Because win. You said making the World
Y'all called me
because
dumb when y'all
because
asked me. Y'all
making the World
asked me, will the
Series.
Dodgers win the World Series in the next
You
five
just
years?
said make the World Series. You just said make the World
And
Series.
win.
Win is a
Win.
different story. Win is a different story. But before this episode wraps up, I just want to give my quick pick on that Tigers Astros. I'm actually going against what y'all guys are saying. Scuba and Montero, they've combined 11-3 since August 1st, but only one other starting pitcher has won a game, and that was Brent Huller against the
Yeah.
Angels a month ago. I think that strong starting rotation carries into that series. I think the Tigers upset the Astros. That's my pick.
And then
Yeah,
Royals and
Astros.
Orioles. Just give your pick very quick before we wrap this up.
Baltimore.
Orioles.
I've been high
I'm
on
high on
Baltimore.
Baltimore.
Yep.
Orioles. All right, Chase. We gotta wrap this up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, thank you again for tuning in to another episode of Dinger Dudes. Like I said, we're so sorry it's been a while. School's been a lot, but everybody tune in. It's postseason time in the MLB. For Jackson, Steven, Andrew, and me, let's pray the Braves don't screw it up tomorrow. Oh, Bo, Lana, don't break our hearts again. But again, thank you so much. We'll be back with another episode to recap how it all plays out. But for all of us here, we love you guys. We appreciate y'all and see y'all on the next episode of Digger Dudes.
So.